Pretty dry.
Yeah,
That I had to move. This one was really wet.
So how many dogs do we have today?
14.
Now we have one rerun. Somebody said there was more than one rerun.
There'll be 2 reruns to start.
Okay. Well, and they'll be the first 2 dogs.
I know the first one is.
Well, I think that wind is definitely quartering, angling in at you a little bit from the right.
It does feel that way now. I just felt it pick up.
Well, got some birds. Won't be long.
All right. Before the first dog runs, conditions have changed considerably. What's your prediction?
I think if this if this wind continues angling in at you, I gotta believe it's gonna help you on the right-hand bird.
Thank you.
Ta-da! They're already
Thank you.
on. Then we won't be able to hear you show.
Okay, so we're not live now.
Y'all good?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Don't need anything up here, water?
I got a water. He's got one back here behind us if he needs it.
So we're not live now, so. I wonder if this wind's just temporary or this is established at this angle. 'Cause
I hear the geese coming down in the background. Behind the test, deep of it.
Did you see on the first day, as soon as the last dog ran, a big
Dropped
white
in.
egret dropped right in and landed right in the middle of the test.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
So those. Do I have this in correctly?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I see yours is in your left ear.
Well, I think it's the way it's, I guess Jay Paul had his in his left ear, no? I couldn't get it to turn right from my right ear.
I'll tell you what I do. I like the fact that you go to a specific number of dogs
What, how do you mean?
when you make your cut.
Oh.
You heard him, didn't you?
Yes, sir. It's an interesting cut, I think, from 18, or from the field down to 18, then 12.
takes a dog that not only can do what we do for training, but a dog that hunts.
The old days of being really good at one side or the other and kind of waffling through the side that you're not good at are done.
You've got a lot of work to go in to get there. And if you're somebody that's going to get your feelings hurt easily, if it doesn't go well, this probably isn't a great game for you.
You know, these dogs have got to hunt to have that experience to be able to handle some of the situations that we get put in.
This is not a young dog game. And if you're going to be good at SRS, you better be good at something else. You better be really good at field trials. You better be really good at hunt tests.
But if you absolutely love training your dog and working with your dog and trying to get better as a team, and you're someone that likes to perform at a high level, then this is a perfect game for you.
They might not be great field trial dogs, and almost every one of them are great hunt test dogs. But all around, from A to Z, these guys are the best.
Well, good morning and welcome back to the 2023 SRS Crown Championship presented by Eukanuba. We're here at Series 2 and we split the test from last night. Weather conditions forced us to shut down a little early, and we're going to complete, I guess we have 14 dogs to run this morning. Hey, I'm Pat Burns and I'm here with Rody Best.
It's great to be here, Pat.
Good to see you, buddy.
Get to sit behind the booth a little bit and enjoy some runs and speak with
I'll
you.
tell you what, this is incredible. There's so many things that's got my mind spinning about, all right, things that I've seen over the years in the field trial sport. And there's some great, you guys are doing some incredible things here. I'm anxious to tell everybody about it. So, well, here we go. We're going to start test 2. Do we
Up
think
the line this is Dakota Best with Kaizen.
Okay.
And he is doing a rerun from yesterday. One of the cannons failed to go off and affected the conditions. So the judges, in fairness to the handler, I mean, it's hard to get here, you know, and in fairness to the dog and the owner and the handler, elected to give him a rerun. He's got to run the test as if he's never seen it before, but he did pick up all 3 marks yesterday. But the issue yesterday was the go bird, which is right here. So he's only being judged on this bird right here.
Okay.
He's already been recorded and judged on the other 2 birds.
You know, reruns are an interesting thing, and I'll tell you, anytime a judge is an advocate for the dog and makes a decision to give, I think it's a wonderful thing. I've never felt, if they give the dog the benefit of the doubt, they're doing the right thing.
Right. It's not easy to be up there and make a snap decision. Things happen uncontrolled, and chaos can ensue. And I think they made the right decision by allowing him to get the same test that everybody else got.
Well, okay, there's a score. Will he even complete the other? Is he going to send for the? Does he need to send for the other 2 birds?
I don't know. I don't know what they've decided.
Well, it doesn't look. These guys are standing up.
Looks like he's just getting judged on that 1 bird.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. If the unfairness happened on one of the later marks, or it affected especially if it was the last bird, you'd have to run the whole test. And you might be scored on the ones that you didn't have the unfairness.
I don't know how many points they had. His run yesterday, he picked up the right bird pretty clean. Did handle on the middle bird, 4 whistles. I believe Kaizen took all of his casts. So I don't know what they're going to give him on that, you know, that bird there that he just got judged on. He stayed in the area, hunted the bird out. Very minimal points. I would expect probably a score in the 40s, which should secure him a spot in the next cut.
That's what
but
we're
we'll
talking
see.
about here too, right? Everybody's really, this is where strategy comes in. You start, do you study the leaderboard to know?
100%.
You have to, don't you?
You have to know how many points you can give and whether you're going to let your dog roll and work it out, or whether you're going to quickly handle and put them on the bird, take the points, and live to play another day.
So is that strategy dictated by the scores of what you see from other dogs that have run ahead of you?
Yeah, so right now I believe we have around 8 open dogs that have secured a spot guaranteed for tomorrow. There's about, maybe there's 6 that have secured a spot. There's about 12 pro dogs I think left to run. And so 6 dogs know they're in for tomorrow, and that 6th place dog I think his score is around 111, 112, something like
Combined,
that.
right?
So everybody knows going in, say for example, the next pro comes line and they know they're sitting in the 40s. Well, they know if 112 is the cutoff, I can afford to lose about 60 to 70 points at the most. Everybody wants to come out and kill it. But if you get up there and it looks like your dog's going to get in a position where you might not recover and you're going to take too many points, you're going to quickly handle and get out of it.
So why would that be any different than what you would have done yesterday?
Well, you didn't know what's going to play.
Okay.
You didn't know what's going to survive. And now we know what that survival point is.
Okay.
This is Casey Parker with Bailey. No stranger to the SRS. Very consistent performer. Those of you tuning in,
Great view.
if you haven't seen this setup before, the handler and dog get 10 seconds to stand at the mat before first bird is thrown. Would you say 10 seconds is a lot of time, Pat, or not much?
I think it's plenty of time. I mean, I've had it be 5 seconds or less. You know.
Really?
Yeah, and they did that on a few nationals for exactly the same reason. So, you know, if you lose 20 to 30 seconds on every dog, it's the difference between finishing a test and not finishing it. So, I don't think they were doing it to make the test more difficult. I think they were doing it to make the test more efficient.
I didn't realize you could set a time limit in a trial.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
I mean, they can do walk-ups where there's no, you know, the minute you hit the mat, it goes off.
Would you say the trend here lately in the trial world is handlers taking too long?
I think so, and I think, you know, when I coach people, I think you end up actually making the dog so dependent on that they need to have more responsibility to do it. So I discourage, you know, excessive communication. And to tell you that it was a rule back in the day, and you could get called for excessive lining and thrown out.
Really? Well, Bailey did a pretty good job staying in the area on the go bird. We've got new throwers today. We've got new conditions.
Well, we're going to find out right now.
Weather has completely changed things, so we're going to see what
now
these
the
next
wind's
two
kind of
birds.
laid down, but it felt a little bit angling in from the right, which may help a dog that misses this bird in the left. Well, we're going to find out here. But this dog, I think, just has a pretty darn good idea where the bird is.
Bailey's
Do they
in
wind it right
great
there?
shape. Great shape.
Well,
Bam.
I don't know if he. I mean, I think the dog just knew where the bird was.
Well, yeah, you
I mean,
can't
which
judge
is-
wind on that. There wasn't really a hunt
No.
involved.
And you could see as the dog approached the fall area, you saw how he started to slow down, and you could see his head looking around. That tells me he knew he was near a bird.
Now, in that shot right there, you can see that white coat out in the field. It's just a dummy station. They didn't throw a bird. How much do you think that affects these dogs after yesterday, watching yesterday?
I think it certainly affects the dogs that are uncertain and they're looking just for something to target. I actually thought it would affect more dogs than it did.
I saw it affect a few, but I don't think it affected
Now,
as
the
many
one thing,
as they thought.
I'll bring this up again when the next dog's running. There's an area en route to that right bird that I think there's a dip, and I think maybe they lose sight of that gun a little bit. I don't know if they do or not.
Right.
You can see it there a little bit. All right, well, here's that line that everybody was fighting for. I tell you one thing is they're not going to have, okay, these guys stay standing the whole time. They're not going to have scent coming off that left gun.
No.
That sometimes makes a dog break down right in there.
there.
This dog doesn't look like it's breaking down at all. Once again, you see the dog look a little left?
56 for Kaizen and Dakota.
Well, there you go. That was big time.
That was incredible. The conditions today may be very
Well,
advantageous.
But you know what? We got to give the dog a lot of credit. I mean, I didn't see anything where the wind saved this dog. This dog just mark those birds.
Well, the only thing is when the dogs were running for that long bird yesterday, you mentioned the scent coming off the
Right.
simulated flyer station caused a lot of dogs to
Yes.
break down. But I think also it caused a lot of dogs to bend to the right
It's
and
true.
up into the opening
Yep.
and
No, you're right.
push them offline.
I actually thought, I said, what would be the wind that would make it easier for the dogs here?
It's a double-edged sword, because if the wind is right to left, they're not going to wind it, but it might push them towards it.
I totally agree. I thought, but the dogs that winded that left-hand bird were close enough to the bird to really be, hey, I want them to wind it there. They were doing the right thing. So, I've run a lot of split tests and nationals, and sometimes there's dramatic differences, and sometimes the conditions change in the middle of the day. I can remember a St. Louis National early series set of watermarks that were going pretty routine, and a big cold front came in. The wind went straight in your face and went to 20, 25 miles an hour, and the success rates went from 85% to 20%.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was just a bloodbath, and it taught me a lot about, what? Sometimes I need to run in conditions I would never really intend to run in, wind dead in your face, odd things, because the dogs just really fell apart.
Well, luck of the draw, too. A lot of luck of the
it
draw.
was like, yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is a rerun from yesterday. This is Lyle Steinman and Hatch. Conditions had deteriorated yesterday towards the end of the day. And so he's going to get to rerun this setup.
There was a lot of peculiar work on this go bird. Why do you think it was? I mean, and dogs looked really nervous. There were a few dogs. Well, there's a 14, beauty.
Wow. Bailey and Parker with a 14. We didn't see many low scores like that yesterday.
No, we didn't. Yeah, it was a long time before we had a dog do that test without having to handle.
I think the best score we had yesterday was about a 6 and a 7 and a 14, I believe. But not many of those at all.
So give me your opinion. Why have the dogs struggled with this mark?
So I think visibility, one, you're throwing a mallard ATB.
So it's a dark bird.
It's a dark bird. There's a very little small window piece opportunity for you to see that bird break the tree line in the background. I had problem with a couple of my dogs, and I wonder. I came back to my group and I said, I think I'm going to put a tent out in the field, and we're going to throw from a tent. I don't know that they know to look there. I've never thrown a bird from a tent before.
But what about just an umbrella, a big umbrella? If you're trying to be thoughtful, you wouldn't typically do that either, huh?
No, I mean, it's funny because a lot of us use ATVs for throwing birds, and my dogs can pick a four-wheeler out at 400 yards. I mean, they know what a tire. If a tire's sticking out from behind a tree, they'll find it. They don't know what a canopy is. They've never seen me throw a bird from a canopy, so.
Yeah, and one of your dogs, it was a chocolate. You had to handle on the go bird. He was leaving the area and hammered the other two, right?
So that's Reese. That's my personal dog. What Reese's problem is, he kind of has to get that first one out of the way, and then I thought that first morning a cup of coffee,
Oh, I've had some dogs like that. And, we used to think they were just bad on flyers, but sometimes they were just bad on the first bird retrieved.
I think he got up there and he saw those two long birds got thrown, and he's kind of like, oh.
All right, this is going to tell us a lot right here.
Hatch is a really nice dog.
But this dog's broken left where you would have trouble. Does he smell the bird right here or not? Boy, no.
Oh, smelled it.
Well,
I think this changes a lot. I don't think he would have recovered had he not
there you go.
smelled that bird.
That's what now.
Now you're going to poke your dog.
I wonder if he's trying to decide what. He's got his play sheet there.
Well, he's got strengths and weaknesses for each dog. It's a little cheat sheet, A lot of us have them, which way the dog turns on a whistle. If I have to blow a whistle, do they turn left or they turn right?
Stuff.
Yeah, Lyle's been doing that for a long time.
Anything to help you remember.
Sure. When you run as many dogs as Lyle does, you got to have that.
I started telling people the wristbands that the quarterbacks wear. To put one of those on and get them in whatever color you want. With the Velcro, and then you can slide an index card in there.
As long as it's for a hunt test, I think as long as it's dark, you could probably get away with it.
They come in every color.
Yeah.
Because I've got some people, you get so excited to forget. Write the order down. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I've had people write it in their, in a Sharpie in their palm.
Oh yeah.
But if you run a bunch of dogs, you. All right. Now this is interesting. He's certainly taking his time. Do you point a little more with a gun? Well,
I think
you're not going to wind it on the right, but you're not. The wind may help. But this is,
This is
that's a
interesting.
tough place to be.
I don't think that's where he had him lined up. Where's the dummy gun?
Yeah, he's not going at the dummy gun. The dummy gun's to the right. He's just going up the middle of the field. And oftentimes they do that because we call them flaring that left-hand gun. They're nervous about going tight to him, and they want to stay away from it. And
yeah, and
sometimes.
I think he pushed him towards the flyer
he-
station there at the very end before
But
he kicked him
sometimes the
off.
harder you push, the more they push away. The more,
Sure.
there's a fine line between stuffing them in there behind there and giving them a little comfort. Well, we're not going to find out what it's like if they're under the arc here
No.
with this particular dog, but you don't wind this bird from the right now. So it may help the right bird, it may hurt this one, but I don't know. I'm anxious to see.
I think you're going to see a lot of low scores this
Yeah.
morning. I think conditions are very favorable.
Well, and you've got the dogs that had the best scores on the first
Sure.
test that may be a little bit more in their game than some of the other ones.
Well,
Now,
they're
this is-
obviously running at their best, and
Right.
so this with favorable conditions, we're likely to see some pretty good scores today. I tell you, I got up this morning, and about 6 o'clock, that wind was really swirling and howling. I thought, oh boy, them dogs they're gonna have a hard time today. But it's calmed down. It's not really blowing hard. It's not raining. I think a dog's vision in these conditions is actually better than we give them
right.
credit for.
I think these are better than bright sunshine.
You bet.
So there's so many times when the guns really are obvious that I think this is great. The dogs don't seem to do well. The same conditions that photographers like to photograph in, cloudy, neutral light, I think are the best for the dogs.
Sure.
And that's what we see here.
Look at our sponsor there, Eukanuba. And Lucky Dog.
Boy, they do an incredible job here. I mean, there's this big tent with a screen that everybody can watch. Lucky Duck Kennels. Boy, they've come up with some incredible stuff. I came from the day where the only ones were the old wire Very kennels. And boy, they're primo deluxe anymore. Look at that.
I've seen a lot of those Lucky Duck kennels with crates, that style really saves some dogs, and
Right.
some wrecks and
You
stuff.
that's certainly what that's about, is it not?
I mean, what's your dog's life worth?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's...
You probably bought your dog as a puppy for more than what that crate alone. So why wouldn't you go?
I remember when I first came on the scene, younger than this young man, and the old timers said, who's this young punk? And
Well, this here's
I've been
Carter
there.
Turner.
Yeah.
And again, Shooter, not a stranger to this game. Shooter has been, I think he's been in the last several crowns, and just very consistent performer. I can probably rely on him to do pretty good in this setup. We'll see. Uh-oh, we got a bad
we
throw.
got a no bird.
We got a
Now,
bad throw.
if you come from the world of field trials, you watch this handler communicate and talk while the birds are in the air, and that's something that is okay here. And it's, you know what? I want to judge the dogs when they can see the birds.
Right.
So I don't see anything wrong with it. And I think of it, so many of these rules are based on would it interfere with the hunt. I don't see why communicating with your dog in that situation would interfere with the hunt.
Now this reminds me of an analogy. I like to use analogies, right? People seem to understand if you can use some common language for them to compare to. So people ask me about the SRS, and I'm going to give you an analogy that I use. So we got field trials, we got hunt tests, we got different games, right? Think of the SRS as the MMA. All right?
That's what
Have you heard this before?
No, but
Okay.
Jay Paul was talking about it a little bit.
So if you watch UFC, MMA fighting, you have stand-up game and you have the ground game. In our sport, this SRS, you've got to have a dog that can play both the stand-up
Right.
game and the ground and pound. And right now we're looking at what dog can do better at the field trial setup.
And then we're going to switch gears here probably.
You bet.
Big time. Oh,
Now-
I'm all about a well-rounded athlete. Oh, I know. They were asking me what was the coolest name. Do you remember the whole deal with Bo Jackson? Bo
Oh,
Knows
yeah.
Baseball.
Bo Knows.
Well, I had a dog in training named Bo Knows Ducks. And I was thinking like, well, we're looking for the Bo Jackson here. We're looking to,
Right.
or
You bet.
the Deion Sanders that can play football and
That's right.
baseball. You know what? It's just, well, there's your 53 there.
Lyle Steinman at 53 should secure them a spot into the next cut.
And I'm going to say, I'm
Early here.
I
We saw
saw
this a few times yesterday.
We did. Early, they came I thought the dogs were almost quitting coming in, but they were coming in way short. This guy, I think he's still got a pretty good idea where this bird is. He's just a little short, but now this wind is more right to left, and
So while Shooter is
boy, he's
doing
getting
this,
himself in trouble, isn't he?
he's getting some wandering penalties. So Carter's going to have to decide when to step in, stop the bleeding, and put him on the bird.
Well, this dog just feels like it's. Well, he just sure took off there, didn't he? What?
He might see it. He did.
Yeah.
He saw it.
So
It must have been glowing underneath them trees.
let me ask you a question. How's that going to be scored different than if he would have handled sooner?
Well, as a judge, and I've judged a few, you have to deem, did the dog know where the bird was? And if he had handled, you want to make sure that that score is probably going to be less than had he handled. Typically wandering is going to happen about every 3-4 seconds or so. I have to think that he probably got about 12 points probably for wandering.
You know what that dog did though? It got out of the area and it realized it was in the wrong spot and went back to his first instinct.
Well, he's fortunate that he saw it because he was on the upwind side. He was right of the bird and the wind is right to left. And it's picking up. I feel it picking up more and more and more.
Yeah, it's definitely right to more, not quarter in actually, more right to left. It's supposed to turn to the north, but that may not be till midday.
I think that wind's going to blow them right into that corner.
I agree. I think now we're going to learn a lot here. Now, this line here, if the dog continued perfectly straight, they were smelling the bird. You're not going to smell the bird here.
Well, this is the line we saw yesterday. He's actually fighting the wind.
And what he's going to win is
Oh, look at that turn.
he's going to win the gun station. Now, he made us,
How
and
did
I
he
think
make
he
that
probably
turn?
acknowledged the scent off of the gun station and swinging downwind of that station. But man, he's,
Oh, he winded it from there.
Yeah,
We
but
have
I'll tell you
not
what.
seen a dog do that.
yeah, but you wouldn't have seen him do that yesterday. Now, I've got to give the dog a lot of credit. I mean, did he know right where the bird was initially? No, but he made a decision when he scented where the gunner was hired. He knew enough to turn away from them and then get himself perpendicular to the wind to cover as much ground and smell the bird.
I mean, but how many dogs, most of the dogs hunted around that gunner. They didn't kick off of him like he did.
Yeah, but the wind was blowing left to right at that point.
Sure, it
and they
pushed 'em.
They
Yeah.
typically, if they're really
Sure.
trying to find the scent, they're trying to get on the downwind side. Now, not many of them will do it to the extent that that dog did. Now, but if I saw, I said yesterday, I had some really good markers, but I really valued the really good bird finders. They were different. They may not have any better
Right.
mark, but they were efficient like that dog in sorting out the information he'd had. The information that dog picked up there, he didn't necessarily acknowledge it initially, was probably a little bit of set where the gun stood, but he really stopped when he smelled the holding blind and knew the bird was to the left. And interesting.
That's what I call an educated hunt.
Oh yeah. You know, we started doing a drill called the Ontario 10-step, and we're named after Dennis Voigt. That's what that does.
Sure.
That's what it's where you throw a single retrieve. The gunner walks an extended distance, maybe not unlike this, and you send them.
Now here we have Carol Cato and Frank. They're an amateur. Her and her husband Ray are both in the Crown Championship.
Ray killed it yesterday, didn't he?
He did. Wow, 32 for Carter Turner and shooter. That's lower than I expected, but he didn't handle.
You know, I had the misconception from somebody that had explained this to me that they really discourage letting dogs figure things out. And that certainly hasn't been the case here.
That was a favorable score for
Oh.
a dog that figured it out.
Right.
You bet.
I mean, me personally, you can do better than that, but I give that dog a lot of credit. And that's just being able to sort himself out of trouble. What a great quality in a hunting dog.
Sure. You wonder if maybe that no bird that he had that wasn't taken into consideration perhaps for the hunt on that right bird.
Well, I don't know.
Frank's a big dog.
He is a big old boy, isn't he? She was working to make sure he didn't go too far right. A few dogs hit this tree line and kind of slid down. Well, this is
Yeah.
I tell you what, whatever she did the right thing, because
You don't want them cutting in too early. Yesterday, if
but
they
look at
cut
this
in
dog.
early,
He knows
at
where
that.
this bird is, because there was nothing he did there that was helped by set. You see him go in, he checked that little dip. Let me tell you, John Straka, field trial guy, he told me how he judges, and this is interesting. He doesn't make any notations until the dog makes its first hunt. He identifies the first place that the dog starts to set up a hunt, and in his head, he puts a yardage from there to where the bird is, and that's really, so the closer you are to the bird when you establish a hunt, the more credit you get.
right.
And if you were doing that, I would say that dog was 5 yards from the bird, 15, 20 feet when he established his first hunt.
That's a lot like how they judge here.
Yeah, and it makes
Because
a
you're
lot of sense.
judging the line to the bird.
Right.
Every line the dog takes, if it's straight or slightly bent or extremely bowed, you're getting judged on that line,
Right.
whether you go straight to the bird or
Yep.
not. We're crediting dogs that fight factors, take straight lines to the birds, know where the birds are.
But tell you what, she's going for it. I watched a couple of you guys. I thought, shit, they pointed up left to the tent for the long bird. No. Once again, see the dog. It feels like he's starting to break down a little bit.
Oh,
Ooh, she puts a
didn't
quick
really
horn.
give him a chance. That was a conservative
Well-
move, but it might pay off. It did.
Well, see that.
That's
Boy,
the
this is gonna
22
be
points. I mean,
interesting.
that's got to be 20 for the handle, 2 for the whistle, and whatever offline they gave her right there. I mean, it couldn't be that's got to be a score lower than 30, I would think. I'm not very
What
good
would you
at,
have done there?
I don't know. She's in good shape.
It would have been super hard for me to handle there, but
Yeah.
it may have been like incredibly smart. I might have won a national if I was that smart, because I blew a 10 series when, and my good buddy old Lardy wins his third national with Lottie, and I was in a situation I had to make that, and I didn't handle. And
You have to trust that she knows this dog, and she
Well, yeah.
knows his tendencies. And
I tell you, not many amateur handlers would make that decisive
Yeah.
a decision, and that's impressive.
well, I always say that a professional expects their dog to make a mistake. An amateur hopes they don't make a mistake, and she obviously expected
Yeah.
a less than positive outcome from that, and she stepped in.
So how would that bird be scored? Look at, they're talking about the same thing we are. How would that bird be scored different than the dog that went up there and figured it out? Would it be and didn't handle?
Well, once you blow the whistle, you're sitting on 22 points right there. 20 for the handle to the bird.
Okay.
That dog had not established a hunt in the area. It was definitely a handle
Okay.
to the area.
Okay,
So you're
I got
sitting
you.
on 22 as soon as they blow that whistle. And she obviously felt like she could, one, afford to lose 22 points, but also save the run.
Well, she had a
Probably
strong.
expect-
I mean, again, all
Sure.
these dogs at this point have had strong scores on the first.
Another pretty big dog. This is
Yeah,
bigger
I've
than
seen a
Lost
bunch
Diamond.
of big, old school looking males.
Look at the drool just
Oh, yeah,
falling
look at
out.
Yeah, this is a view that you just don't ever get to see, and it's just I never get tired of looking at it. Look, you can just see the intensity.
I don't know that he saw that bird real good. He kind of swung back towards the canopy. I think Lyle
Well,
was going to poke him left
You
of
think
that
the
tree.
second shot does that?
Perhaps. That's a good point. If you poke him left of the tree, nope, he's going to go right of it. Right is going to end up in a hunt. No,
Well-
he corrected. He auto-corrected. That was a nice move.
Well, once again, if this dog, that you can see this, he swung what he thought was downwind of the bird, but it didn't get him the bird right away, did it?
I thought he was in great position. Not really hunting off the station. He's just kind of hunting where Lyle sent him. So
Yep.
36. There you go. Frank and Carol with a 36. That should secure them a spot.
Good. This is just what I didn't predict yesterday. And
No.
it's,
I don't think the judges expected it either.
I mean, how could you?
So this is what we call back in Texas a roadie mark. And we put an obstacle in the path of the dog.
That deflects them, and they got to show you the.
It either deflects the path of the dog or the visibility of the bird. So
Yeah.
I might throw a bird from the right side of that tree over to the left side. And that way the dog has to truly mark the bird and not just hunt off the station.
Oh yeah.
And you can
All
see how
about
it plays with him.
I'm sorry.
You can see how it plays with him
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit. You know that he was going to go left the tree and then he went right and then he auto-corrected.
Right,
then,
and if nothing else, they're thinking more about what side of the tree they're going than where they're going.
Right.
So
Would you see a bird that short in a trial?
yeah, you certainly could.
He didn't put his hand in. Did you see that?
No, but a lot of people didn't here. This isn't an extremely disciplined mark. I mean, no, this is going to be one of the. This is what I want to see here.
He's going to
But
win.
he's starting to look for some sense now.
Oh, he broke down early.
He did break
Didn't
down
win
a
it.
little early.
Maybe because of the soft
You
send.
see when he comes in, he's kind of drops his nose. He's looking for information, like other dogs.
Now
Does
he's
he get
going-
it here? Is he gonna
now
be
he's
able to-
going out to the white coat.
Ooh, yeah, he did. Dang it.
Lyle obviously knew his dog was about to hunt off that long white coat out there.
He looks at it every time, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
he? Everybody's got a routine. That's his routine.
And that's what I was saying yesterday. I was telling some people that I'm normally a very slow and methodical handler. Walking up to the line, I take my time. I try to calm the dog. And this 10-second count forces me to come up to the line very quickly and line my dog up. It really takes me out of my routine. And if you think about a batter in baseball, when they come up and they step in the box,
Oh,
they
yeah.
go through a routine of, tightening this glove and tightening that glove and stomping their cleats and tapping the bat. And you take that away from a handler and
Yeah.
it changes things.
So, do you think you should change your cadence at times so you can get comfortable with it? I'll tell you what I do. In the winter training, we talk about your winter routine. When I theme things, I may do like long retireds for a week. I'll do walk-up week. Every test I do is a walk-up.
Really?
And it's not a walk-up in this. What it is this is going to be interesting here.
I don't remember a dog doing this.
I've seen him go in there, but I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
see him do this. Now, does he win
He's
the
gonna
bird
win
here?
it.
Does
He'll
he win
win
the
it.
bird right there? He
Definitely.
should.
Definitely win it.
Oh boy! And Lyle's trying to decide how much longer can I wait.
How did he not wind it? He was in a great spot. If he finds that, oh, he's long. He's really long.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I thought that was the dog
Oh,
would
I
win
thought
the
it was
bird.
beautiful.
I totally did.
I got kind of a long throw yesterday on a dog, and I tried to poke him through there, and it ended very poorly for me. It
'cause you
didn't work
ended up
out well.
hunting kind of just deep of the tent, right, in that little slot.
Yeah, you couldn't see the bird hit. It was about probably 10 yards further to the left than that bird right there.
Yeah, that's kind of I can see why you're frustrated. You're hoping like, God, I could have a little bit of the, and you don't, sometimes you don't know if they actually smell it and ignore it because, to some degree, the one thing on this is you've got to ignore a lot of scent to get to the bird.
Right.
Hopefully you don't know the information when you do get there. And it does tell you how good a mark they really have.
you have to credit that dog for going so tight to that station like that and then straightening out and putting himself in a good position. It just didn't, work out.
Well, that was trained behavior, and balancing natural behavior versus trained behavior is the slippery slope that we play, and you want to teach them to do the right things. But you know what? I feel the same way. I'd give him a pat because this dog was, everything he did, he was kind of trying to do the right thing. It just didn't work out for him.
Yeah, I don't think it'll knock them out of contention necessarily. We've seen some pretty low scores this morning. I don't think the highest scores we've seen is in the 50s so far. So
and Lyle he put him in the spot. All you can do is get him near it. They got to do the rest.
he had a hunt on the go bird and then a handle on both other birds. Let's see how they get them. Carter Turner again. I feel like a broken record. Keep talking about Carter. Here he is again with Blue.
Yeah, right.
I've got a dog named Blue who's 14 and a half years old. Happy tail.
Yeah. How much,
here.
when you step up, do they look at the camera holding one? Because these dogs being hunt test
Which
dogs.
camera? That one on the left right there with the red tint? I don't know. That dog looked like he looked at that station.
Well, and
for
I
a
watched
second.
a few early in that because essentially, first of all, there's a person in there. Second of all, hunt test dogs, that's the equivalent of another gun
Right.
station.
Lyle and Tigger with a 75. I don't know what his score was from yesterday, but that's probably, most of these dogs are still going to be in contention. It's probably going to push him back, and where his was in his ranking, but
On the bubble. You don't have the anxiety, anticipation, waiting for callbacks because you're going to be able to figure it out.
sure. There's a lot of guys that sit here and score themselves as they're running and try to figure out, okay, I'm sitting on 28 right now, or I'm sitting on 42 or whatever. I can't do that.
Yeah.
It just complicates the
I guess I
scenario.
just got to run the best test I can. Boy, this guy,
I think he's going to the white coat.
Yeah, I do
think-
too. He's
at a-
got that pace that tells me, I don't know.
He's at a spot where he might be able to recover if he gets more right.
Yeah, I
don't
don't see
think
it.
so.
I don't see it. I think that with that gun up on top of that hill, boy.
Interesting hunt in front of the gun, though.
So is he relating to the scent off of the holding blood?
Yeah.
Because if he's smelling anything, it's the person in that holding blood.
I think what changed things today now is, and this is probably how the judges intended for this to happen, is if you point your dog on the downwind side of this bird, then you put yourself in a position where they're running at that white coat.
Well, exactly, and it's so hard to tell sometimes where dogs are looking. It's, if you're trying to identify where that gun stood when he threw that mark, it's not very far off that long gun.
And that may have been what kind of slowed him down, because those dogs can smell that crushed vegetation. They know what that smell is. Something's been here. All right, Blue, what you got?
I know. He does a good job of that pre-delivery kind of really communication. Obviously, he's got a real routine again. I find it interesting that so many people decide to get rid of the bird prior to sending. I always discourage stepping away from them because I just
100%.
I said, but you see it pretty regular. It's not like they're holding a live bird. Well, that's an awfully good line.
If you watch me handle, I
Look at
will
that.
grab the bird and I won't put it in the bucket until I've either one, picked up the next bird, or two, had to handle. Beautiful line. Wow.
Wow. Well, this is
Boom. There you go. Wow. Yeah, I don't know why that's so. We see that a lot here, and to me, it's a distraction to the dog. You throw
Yeah.
that thing in the bucket and it clangs, and the dog looks around. I want my dog coming in and locking in on the next bird.
Well, right, and if your dogs are really dialed into any movement you do, in other words, if you step back, you pull them right. If you step forward, you push them left. When you step back to discard that bird, a lot of dogs are going to follow your movement and take their focus off.
Sure. I call them major and minor movements.
Right.
A major movement is, a big heel or here
Right.
with voice, and your minor movements are just tapping the leg
subtle.
or pushing
Right.
a little bit with the knee. And I think you're giving them a major movement by turning around
Yeah.
and throwing the bird in the bucket.
But you know what? Some of these dogs haven't responded the way I've described, maybe because that's their routine.
Yeah, they're-
I mean,
they're
if that's
used to
what
it.
you do in training every
Sure.
day, then it probably doesn't hurt you.
Really nice job on 2 of the marks, and a handle probably definitely going to make the next cut. We're going to be cutting to the top 18 open dogs and top 18 AM divisions. We'll be moving from here to the Caspian plantation. Is that what it's called?
Oh, I got a little fun fact. I'm glad you mentioned Caspian.
Uh-huh.
So what, do you know why they call it the Caspian plantation?
I sure don't.
Because the originators of the plantation came from the Caspian Sea.
Really?
Lester Langley, my buddy from Monroe, Louisiana.
He
I
knew
guess
that.
he's doing a little research. He's coming up to see that. So he said, you know why they call it that? He said, this is it. I don't know if he got up and
Ooh.
Googled that this morning or what, but
Pine looked really far left when the second shot went off.
Yeah, that's unnerving because this dog definitely, there's some of the,
I think John knows that, and that's why he took his time.
well, you can see
lining
the
him
dog
up.
taking, look at this. See, that dog definitely looked over at that short
He's
station.
hunting off that station. He
Yeah,
thinks that
well,
station's
and he's
good.
worried. You could tell the fact that this dog didn't, camera guy doesn't even want to move and draw any attention to him.
No.
He's sitting still like,
Carter Turner in blue with a 39. Good score.
yeah. Well, there's another smart handling, but
I think he's going to put himself in position to smell this bird.
yeah, that dog definitely left in a kind of a nervous, uncertain, but he came out of it better than I thought he would.
You bet. See our scores rolling across the bottom of the screen there. Going from high to low, these are our scores combined from the first and the second series.
So how many amateurs started this?
I don't know if I'm correct here, but I remember somebody saying we had 54 open dogs, so that would leave us with around roughly 40 or 39 or 38
Okay.
or something like that.
So this is about cutting a little bit more than half.
correct.
Okay.
Nice recovery. You know, he could have been in a hole world of hurt.
Yeah. You know, I think of situations which you get into like that. You know, sometimes when you have a longer flyer, he's definitely trying to influence right. The dog wants to look left.
Yeah, from that view, he's really got him pushed right.
If you have a long flyer, a long station, and the dog doesn't see the act of the throw, and he relies only on the shots, oftentimes the shot doesn't occur till the bird's on the ground because of the distance. So I've been in that situation. You got to kind of sell him on it. Yeah, this dog is just got that nerve.
Yeah.
On,
See if he
I'll tell
may
you what,
works it out.
God,
I
he's
mean,
he
could
gonna
pick up
bend
the
into
left
that middle
bird.
bird.
He could go get the left bird. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, he's does a little bit of a nerdy little turn there. He's kind of been betwixt and between.
Yeah. Is he going to win that bird?
Well, he's trying to, but he's
Definitely using his nose. He might work this thing out, Pat.
well, yeah. I mean, he's definitely bouncing around trying to find.
Yeah, come on back, Pine. You had the right idea. Just stay with it. I think John's going to step in
handle?
here pretty quick because you're losing points here.
And what's he do when he hits one of those trails? Sometimes he'll turn and try to follow the trail to the.
You can definitely see some of the trails the dogs are taking.
Look at it. Let's see if this happens. That's exactly what just happened. Now, does he finish it? Does he make sense out of it? Okay, he's still trying to interpret all of that.
Going to go back out to the center now.
Yeah,
I think now would be a good time to handle.
He just didn't. He followed it for a little period of time. But he's going in the wrong direction here.
You think as a judge, he's probably getting hit a little harder for wondering because he's not even close to the area of the fall. And
yeah, you just, like I said, you're hoping that they're going to sort this out. And at this point, you're thinking, all right, when is my best time to handle?
Yeah, he's going to handle now.
Go.
I mean, I would think as a judge, you're probably hitting him pretty good for wondering because he's just stumbling around for the bird. He doesn't show a lot of memory or recollection on where that bird landed. He's just hoping to stumble on it.
I mean, he was trying to sort things out. When he got on this, you can see that series of knockdown cover there. Most of that is the return path from this retrieve here.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because you don't have feathers, maybe the comeback trail isn't as significant, but it's mostly, I think, the dog path, because in that cover, the bird would be, they wouldn't be dragging and it'd be off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But you see how they come back here. Some dogs get really good at figuring out that that is the yellow brick road to the bird.
Right.
And
in that first series, we saw a lot of trails. I mean, there was good ones and bad ones.
But that was mostly in the beginning, in the first third of the retrieves, wasn't it?
For the first series?
Yeah, because it was heavier cover in the front end than there was. Then you hit kind of that mode section. When I saw the trails, it was the beginning. Well, and getting the beginning of the lines is important.
But what happened to me yesterday in the first series was I'd have them looking down a trail that I wanted them to go down, and they would select the easier of the paths, you know what I mean? And it would throw them off.
Well, isn't that what a good test does?
Sure.
If a dog takes the easiest route, you don't reward him. If he takes the, and you know, we talk about cheating. Well, if they're all forms of cheating, they're taking a path of less resistance. And a good judge figures out, I need to throw the bird where the dog that goes to the path of least resistance and doesn't know where the bird is, doesn't get rewarded.
Right. Now, Pine had a pretty big hunt, but he wasn't, really far left on this one. Quick handle, what do you think?
What's he going to do here? Yeah. Well, he's starting to make I just don't see you getting to the bird there. Even if you line through it, you're just, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, you just... You know, that uncertainty on the go bird really bled over to all the marks here.
Yeah, and if he lets him get in there too much and puts his nose down, he might get hit for a switching penalty as well, because Pine's really not wanting to change direction on him.
No. Now, maybe once he clears this gun, he'll give him a right-handed
He's going to
cast.
disappear to the handler here. I had a dog get over here yesterday, and you couldn't see them for a little bit.
Yeah, you can see that dip. He looked to the right there, but you better... I wonder if the handler can see him there. No?
Have to see.
Yeah, there we go.
There's another swell behind, looks like, and if he dips over that, it's going to be hard to see him.
Yeah. He did get a right-handed cast. I wonder if you can see him right there. Yeah, he must have. I bet you sees just the top of his head.
Yeah, he's online now. That's a good recovery. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think I would have gotten that big of a change in direction with most of my dogs.
Whew. Yeah, that just kind of went, troublesome from the start,
Yeah.
Either he just didn't see one bird. And sometimes when a dog, that kind of happens, that confusion kind of sets in, and they just can't get out of it.
Pine's been around a long time, experienced veteran. John's no stranger himself to the competition. Had several good years. You get up there in the position he was in. He had to be in probably the top 6 right there going in, and he's going to slide back some here.
Is that going to open up a spot for somebody else?
I don't know.
I
might.
Just from my raw, untrained eyes, I mean, as far as the scoring system, you know, this Go-Bird was the Go-Bird, but it really, none of the birds did he really show Mark.
No.
He
And
got the
score will probably
Go-Bird,
reflect that.
but yeah, I know
It's the
that's-
highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Yesterday, I had a dog score a really good score. I was feeling on top of the world, and then I come back and handle on all three on the next dog. It's
I
like,
tell you, it's
golly.
what's brutal about these games, you know, and in the world of field trials. You know, it's like being up 40 by 40 points, and you do one fumble in the game, and you lose the game. You know, you
With-
make one mistake.
With these
Even
dogs and these handlers, you can't stumble.
No. Well, you're right.
Got Cappy, 7-year-old, and Carter Turner again. He had a very good first series.
Yeah. So I got to ask you a question. You know, these handlers are very comfortable doing that movement. Do you find yourself having to talk to yourself to make sure if you're running a field trial or hunt test that you're not doing some of these things that are okay in this game but not okay in other venues?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my first SRS, I made a terrible mistake in the finals. Actually, my second. It was my second SRS. I made it to the finals with a dog named Jazz. And the last series was a white coat setup.
Yeah.
And I forgot that you could talk to your dog. And I was unable to get my dog to see one of the birds, and it proved to push me from first down to third. And I remember people saying, "Why didn't you just say something?" And I'm like, I totally forgot I could talk to the dog. I didn't remember. So I think, if anything, you have conditioned yourself for. If as a pro you've run for so many years, you know not to say anything in a hunt test or a field trial. In this game, it's actually the reverse. You forget to talk to your dog in this.
That's so you would actually, other than actually correcting your dog, you would treat this like you were training, because I would do those kinds of things in training, and I would talk to them to make sure they saw it or communicate, don't head swing or
Sure, give them a sit. Yep.
yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Now, I think I pointed something out to you yesterday. I realized I was doing. I was handling with my hat, and trying to increase the visibility of me at the line. You know, there's a lot of stuff behind the handler, and the dog looks back in that. And if you haven't conditioned your dog to looking back and seeing a couple canopies and stuff like that,
What's going to happen here?
winded it.
Well,
Wow.
But I can even see that.
Oh, you can see it. You bet.
But he didn't see it. But maybe it was up a little higher. Maybe the wind was in a little more favorable spot.
Yeah, so I was handling with my hat and realized, I thought to myself, why am I doing this? I don't do this in training. I never take my hat off in training. Am I hurting or helping my dog? I don't know. I might be hurting them. I don't know.
You know, I guess I kind of hate, well, I don't kind of. I hate to do something different for the first time on game day.
Sure.
I mean, if I'm going to do that, I certainly probably need to prepare them for it.
Well, a lot of handlers wear black gloves, so you get that contrast of the white coat and the black gloves. But I mean, we're in Texas. Not very often do you need to wear gloves. I mean, it's
Right.
just not cold enough. And so
Well, and I think of it more on a skylit or a treeless skyline, where you're trying to contrast with the sky.
right.
So you're trying to cover that, but a lot of times black gloves aren't necessarily helpful. Well, look.
I don't think they're big enough. I mean, I guess I have small hands.
No.
I don't know, but
Yeah, I know. Well, look at him.
he feels good
I
about
tell
it.
you, he's talking about. He said, "Go, go, go." This is
See how he-
not going to wind it there.
Yeah,
I
I
tell
think
you what,
you're gonna have to.
the
see a
wind
quick
helped him
handle.
on the right one, but didn't. You would have winded that bird yesterday there.
For sure.
Well.
Look at that turn. That is
Well,
crazy.
the wind
today.
to the gut to identify. Look at him, Taylor.
Never did you get that turn yesterday. Never
Well,
did you get that. What a difference a day makes.
I tell you what. That I don't know if he does it, but a 10-step. That's what they learn to do.
Well, and it was a smart handle or smart reaction on him because we've seen another dog do that, and he played
Well-
those odds that dog
Well,
would
and
do
he
the same
obvious
thing.
wasn't it him that was
Right.
it his other dog that did that?
I believe it was.
You know, he trains them both. He probably has prepared them in some way to make that decision. Look, he's digging that now.
And Carter's had a phenomenal year and having a good day today for sure.
Well, don't you love to compete with a guy like that? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes it fun, challenging.
He says, I want seconds. Carter doesn't show the pressure that you think he'd have on him right now, you know?
Well,
He's done a great
well, he's
job.
got the intensity. I mean, the emotion, the excitement. Now it'll be interesting to see if other dogs, other than Carter's dogs, end up in that situation. Are they able to make that same decision? In both those situations, the dog didn't break down until he found he smelled the gunner where he retired to, and then knew enough to break away from him and use the wind in his favor to find that bird. I mean, that's just incredibly smart, savvy
Got
dog.
a short throw there.
Short throws.
I think that right bird's going to be
Certainly
very
can.
favorable. It's on this side of the tree. Might not have seen the go bird though, or looking for another bird perhaps.
Well, I could see a dog swinging over to that holding blind, thinking, "Are you going to throw a fourth bird?" Where the camera is, and it's the
Sure.
same for everybody, but didn't affect him. He talked him in there. Let's just.
Wow, 15. Yeah, Harley's a field trial dog. Spent last 2 or 3 years with Kenny Trott and Marcy Wright.
Oh yeah, well, good friends of mine.
So Harley's no stranger to the field trial marks at all.
I've known Kenny and Marcy, especially Kenny. I knew Kenny when he worked for Jerry Potopia a long time ago, and Kenny ran his first national and pre-national with me.
Looked like you winded it right there. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Getting some refusals here.
Yeah, I don't think he could have waited much longer there to handle, especially based on how he's responding to this. But you know what? You said that bird was shorter, but
It was
I
short,
couldn't
but
see
we
the
couldn't
bird.
see it. We couldn't see it. I guess the dog couldn't
that
see
one
it
I
either.
saw up on the berm, up a little higher spot. Probably the difference, an 8 to 10 inches difference. See him check the wind, saying, "Why didn't he win that bird?"
Looks like our bubble right now in the open division is about 110 or so to make the top 18. So Luke and Harley are sitting at a 29. So they need to come out of this with around an 80 or less. And I
Yeah.
think that's very doable. We haven't seen a score higher than, what, 56
Right.
today?
What was the dog that double handled? Okay, here we go. Well,
That was
exactly
one
the
of
same
hands.
situation with the last dog.
Yeah, now let's see what this
Exactly.
dog
Let's
does.
see what happens here. Okay, you see it right
Located
there.
the gunner.
He just smelled where the gun was. You saw him kind of flick his head. He swings away from him.
Different
But I'll
response.
tell you what, I just don't know many dogs that, for me, that would come in enough from that hunt.
No,
And that's,
none of mine would.
this is what I would see more. That's why I was so intrigued by Carter's two dogs making that decision. This guy's trying to figure it
He
out.
might figure it out.
Well, we're going to know
Nope,
here in a
he's
second.
going
See,
deep.
and you know what? I think sometimes with a field trial background, it's usually long and longer,
Sure.
and they defer to going further, not coming back.
Yeah, if at first you don't succeed,
So now
run.
look at this. Now,
run
what I
further.
think now, I didn't. At some point, they'll figure out the foot trail, the return where the person walked back to the barn, and trace that back. But he had to make a call here because
Now Harley is a little more tired now. We saw a
the
little.
dog to respond to a come-in, and I.
If you're gonna train a certain way, then you should test a certain way. And what I found, and it was actually kind of a weakness, my come-in whistle became virtually useless. It
Well, that's
didn't
right.
mean anything.
Good point.
Because I didn't use it anymore. I used a verbal here in my training to get a dog to come in.
Well, I
Because
tell you
he's
what.
obviously what we should have been looking for.
You know, I purchased a lot of dogs, and some of the ones I thought were the most promising didn't turn out to be the case, and some of the ones that I scratched my head and wasn't so sure. Well, 103.
103. So that will not make the cut. That's a 132, and our bubble is around 110, 111 right now.
So that opened the door for somebody else
It did.
to slip in.
Those of you that are watching, in the case of a tie, currently we have two dogs sitting at 110. We have two dogs sitting at 122. If we finish and we have a tie for 18th place, the tie goes to the dog that had the best score in this series.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Well, a long time ago, we used to do it, and it was kind of neat, but really impractical. We did it on the fastest time because we used to time the dog's run.
Oh.
We got away from that. That favored the younger
I think-
dogs, you
right,
know.
Right. Yes, exactly. Very interesting. Makes perfect sense, though.
And I'm talking about this tie because currently I'm sitting on the bubble with one of my dogs, and Clark Kennington has the same score, and he had a better second series score than I did. So Clark's gonna slide in if we both.
If you're both the last.
Yeah,
18th dog.
he'll go in and I won't. So that's all right.
Okay.
He had
So
a
what are we gonna
37
get?
in the second, and I had a 44. So
Okay, so now this dog is a little bit right. This was like, and they were winding that bird right there yesterday.
that was a beautiful line
They
yesterday.
didn't.
You can see
That-
the bird right there. See it
Yeah.
by the tree?
Yeah, but he just, I wonder if he realizes he's that far.
I don't feel a lot of wind now, actually. No wind.
You're right. It actually is almost gone calm.
Do you
Like you're
think?
right.
Okay, so yesterday where he pointed Gus was the place to be.
Well, when he passed the bird, that's where he wanted to be. Some of those dogs that went in that early went right yesterday.
Right. Correct.
But if you were just a couple trees to the right of the bird and then broke left when you got through them, you were rewarded with smelling the bird. You can
There's
kind
your
of-
verbal here. Did you hear
Yeah.
it?
Oh yeah.
His coming whistle is not proving to be effective, so he's using the verbal here. This is quite a few refusals. This might
Yeah.
add up to a pretty high score.
Well, it's going to make this next bird all that more critical.
Come on, Gus. Look
Look at
at
it,
it.
says, "Wait a
There you
minute."
go. That was a pretty smart
You
move.
know what? Every time I've had that situation, the judge says, "Look, you got the easy bird, the belly's
Oh
up."
yeah.
I never get it. I never get it.
They'll blow it up. They'll find some way to mess
Say,
it up.
oh, you know what? You've got that Drake with the belly up or the wing up. This ought to be easy. Never works out. Never worked out that way for me.
You've got to give Leo a bunch of credit as a handler right there. He had the dog deep in what looked like a perfect position to spot that bird, and probably winded if we have any wind at all like we had earlier. But he was getting a lot of refusals. Gus was not willing to go there and come in and pick that bird up. So Leo killed his momentum and brought him way in.
Yep.
And then gave him a
And then-
chance to
yeah.
see that bird. I think that was a great move.
Yeah, it's what we do in training a lot. We just don't. I don't think of doing it in this venue. And
And it took a verbal here.
yeah,
I mean,
it did.
there's an effective reason for that. It's a hot topic. It's a highly debated topic right now, the use of the word here. And I know y'all have talked about it. He talked about it with Steven. I've heard him talk
Well,
about
it's a different thing. But I thought a long time ago, 30 years ago, I thought like, wait a minute, we give verbal overs, we give verbal backs.
You bet.
Why wouldn't a verbal come in be okay?
It's the fact that it's always been used traditionally to call a dog in. It's the pickup. It's the you're not doing your
Right.
job. You're done. Get in here.
Yeah, but just because that's what it used to be, does that need to be what it always is? That's obviously what you guys are thinking. And
I mean, you had to have thought the first time you heard it, go, oh, he's picking his dog up, right?
right? Oh yeah, it is what. Now, what about the word no?
I don't think you're going to get away with that one.
I mean, a big firm here like the one I heard Steven
that
do.
That was an unfortunate turn there. I think he was on a better line until he checked up.
Yeah, he's on that pace that he's. Ooh, what just happened?
That was a good turn.
Well, but again, well, we asked to see this to see if other dogs made those decisions. 2 dogs in a row have ended up right where Carter's dogs were.
But Gus
Now
is
look at- okay,
hunting
so
the
watch him.
front
See,
side
I'll
of
tell you what
this.
he's doing there. I think he started to follow. I think the trail of the gunner walking to where he throws from.
You bet.
But he's trying to figure that out. But
He can't smell it.
he's making all his moves. But the thing that Carter's dog did that I just don't think many dogs would do would come in to use the wind. See, like he's going to look. He's trying to find. Boom. Look at him. He's interpreting where that line from where that gunner threw from.
Do you think he gave up just now and said,
Yeah,
okay,
I
I've been
do.
unsuccessful
I do.
here. I'm going to try a
I
new
think
area?
he's trying something different. It's just not the right different thing.
Yesterday, when he got close to that clump of trees, they would have winded it. Today, you don't have the same wind.
No, and in some ways it's easier when you're in one position and harder when you're in another. So and that's what a good test does. Judges will say, well, this bird's going to be, if the wind shifts, this bird's harder than this one.
There you go.
I'll be damned.
Ah, wow. I wish I had a dog that could do that. mine would not have had
Oh.
the fortitude to stay in there like that.
Well, when he made that move deep and right of the holding line, I thought it was game over. But he once again kind of came back to look at the area that he was getting the information. And again, I say the information. He was smelling, interpreting the trail of the person walking from where they threw to where they're hiding.
I think the drill you mentioned, if you want to explain that right now.
So Dennis Voigt showed this to Mike and Ray, Mike Lardy and Ray Vogt and I. We were actually doing a 4-person seminar together. And he said, let me show you something we've been playing with. And it was a single retrieve where the gunner walked, we call it 10 steps because it's roughly 10 to 15 yards, 10 big steps, and retires. And then you talk the dog back into the mark. Well, the distraction of the person walking, and then oftentimes we would do an obvious holding blind, or all the dog would be drawn to where the gunner sat. He would be distracted by the movement.
And pulled towards the
Pull
walk
towards
back.
the gun. Now, the idea of this was to encourage the dog to look back at the bird and send them, but not handle them if they ran to where the gun was. Then they went through the process of having to make the decisions that we just watched.
So
And early, it's ugly.
When
They'll run around.
When
Go
the
ahead.
dog's standing there and they're watching that, you let the gunner walk back to their position and then you send the dog.
Then I re-influence to the bird.
So
I let
you
him walk
push,
from the
you
whole way.
push off of where the gunner just
Well,
went.
what I tell my owners, I said, identify the gun, influence to the bird. That's what I would do on a big test.
Identify the gun,
So I'd
influence
look
to the
back
bird.
to where the gun stood and then push out to the bird. Try
Gotcha.
to talk him into remembering the act of what just occurred. And some dogs, they'll get to the point where they don't watch the gunner at all. But what I found one of the greatest benefits next to teaching the dog to make productive decisions and use all the information available is the communication to influence a dog within a fall area. So often you push to the left and then they look back at the short gun. So it's a higher level of communication, and when a dog can make those decisions and use all of that information available, well, you witnessed it. Carter's dog did it a little quicker, but Gus used everything and kept trying to figure out, all right, where is this bird based on everything that I'm smelling here?
So there's a score there for Leo and Gus, 75. We saw Luke handle on that bird after a hunt, and Leo let his dog hunt. I think the judges have very obviously shown there that we will reward you if your dog can be successful and work it out.
That appeals to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, even if it
that's the right
wasn't a
thing.
great mark, I mean, aren't we trying to reward dog savviness and intelligence
Sure.
and being able to make decisions?
And
that was certainly a good example of it.
And the nerves of Leo to sit there and trust that was going to work out.
You know, it takes a really balanced training approach for that dog not to get so worried and either pop or just take off.
Sure.
Because that's going to, if a dog's feeling pressure that he's going to be in trouble there, they're not going to be free thinking enough to make those kinds of decisions.
So
that's where the game's changed. Well, there's another one
yeah.
that we can see what's going to happen here.
We did not see dogs do this yesterday. The wind is obviously pushing them more left than it did yesterday.
Well, he hasn't blown yet. I think I guess I should be looking at the dog out in the field. Yeah.
Definitely in an area. He comes into this with a 22, so Carter needs to try and keep his score less than 90.
I don't see this dog recovering. Now, if he does from this, I'm going to be incredibly impressed.
And that's going to be a big handle. I wonder how well Joe handles. You know, we're fixing to see. Perhaps Carter knows that he's not going to handle, and so he's waiting, or perhaps he thinks that he believes.
I'll tell you what, his dogs made some decisions yesterday that I just didn't see dogs making. Now,
you got a white coat out there, and he's hunting on the front, so that's pretty.
Oh, well, these dogs have this doesn't happen by accident. I mean, this guy does something in training to really teach dogs. Look at that.
Oh my gosh. I would not have bet on that. Not in 100 years. Nice recovery. Very, very nice.
Well, I know the first question I'm going to ask him. What do you do?
How do you get your dog?
What do you do in your training? Because 3 dogs in a row have recovered from positions that I thought were almost unrecoverable.
Maybe he always throws angled in birds, or throws a lot of angled in with the two-step like you're talking about.
Well, those are all the qualities that when a dog learns that particular drill will do. But it's not just the drill. He does something on a day-to-day basis to allow to.
But if you look at these 2 long birds, both have the concept of if your dog overruns the mark, finds the station, or gets sucked into the dummy gun out there, they're not in a position where most will recover.
Right.
And we're testing the concept twice, and we're seeing Carter being very successful at it.
Well, he stuck him in there, punched him pretty hard.
Tell you what, Carter has not shown a chink in his armor.
No, he hasn't.
I mean, he's
got his hat off. Is he thinking? Does that mean you think he's thinking he's going to handle quick if need be?
He trusted him on the right bird. I would think he would trust on this bird too, but Joe's not showing much slowdown.
Well,
He's located the gun.
He just winded up.
Yeah, he located the gunner station, so now what are we going to do?
Well, he could. He's going to have another one do it, isn't he?
That's a trained response, without a doubt. That's got to be.
I can see that. I don't see the dog on the screen. He's still a little bit deep in the bird. Dang it. When I looked at him out in the field, I thought he decided to.
I think that was a smart handle. I mean.
Yeah. Well, he tried to make the same move. He just didn't. When he came in, he didn't come in. He was
Yeah.
far enough when he was on the left.
I think that was a smart handle, and Carter made the right decision there. What is Carter, 26 years old, making all the right? I mean, obviously he's training well. He's making the right decisions at the line.
When I watched some of you guys handle, I said, I think a lot of the field trial people are happy you guys aren't diving into that. Because, I've
There's
watched
some
some
new
really
blood.
sharp handling. And
That's a smile of a happy guy right there.
yeah, you know what? I cannot express the emotion you feel just competing at this level. I mean, if there's anything I miss not competitively running dogs anymore, is this atmosphere. You just want the chance. It's just, wow.
Carter and Joe will live to play another day.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a cool guy, and you could tell he was an old hippie. And here's what he said to me coming offline on a deal like that. He said, I've tried all the drugs there are. He said, but nothing's more addictive than this. He says, believe me, I've tried them all. And I laughed, but I knew what he meant. The excitement and emotion, if you bottle that, just what that, you could see it in his face, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's definitely the highest of highs and lowest of lows. I said it earlier, and man, you go from, it's like a roller coaster. I mean, you dip down into a low spot, and then your next dog pulls you back up again, and you think, man, I can do this, and then you go back down again, and like.
Well, and it's one of the things you have to, like when I'm coaching amateurs, I've got to say, guys, you can't live and drive with every retrieve. You know, you've got to enjoy the experience. You got to like appreciate it, and you're good. And if you get too high when it goes well, and too upset when it doesn't, you're not going to be happy at it. And so you've got to really embrace the competition and the chance to deal with the challenge.
I worked for a company. It was called Triple Crown Dog Academy for 4 years, and a lot of the trainers that worked there with me, they were into the sport of Schutzen, you know.
Okay.
And they were amazed at our sport because we never knew day to day what we were going to face when we showed up.
Yeah.
Their sport, they knew there was going to be these 10 requirements, and it was the same everywhere they went, no matter where they went. They had to do these 10 things. With us, we never know what we're facing. So it's a hard sport to train for, and you're going to go to an event where perhaps the terrain fits your style, or perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps the judges fit how you train, perhaps they don't. I've had events where I got my teeth kicked in, and I'm going home after the second series without a dog in the semifinals going, what have I done wrong? Where did I mess up? And it wasn't me, it wasn't my dogs, it was just not a test that suited my style.
Right.
And then I come out 2 weeks later and run an event and look like I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
And you go, did I do anything different? No, I just hit something in my wheelhouse.
So do you evaluate that over time and make some, because what you don't want to do is switch gears to the degree that you become good at what you were weak at and then become weak at what you were good at. You try to find that balance.
Sure. The balance is key, and for a lot of us, I mean, it's very easy for me to train on my grounds. I've got great grounds that I'm proud of, and we've got them manicured for what we do. Mm-hmm. But I train on the same grounds every day, then I'm not giving my dogs. Yeah. And so we have started, me and my assistant trainers, we're looking at things going, we need to start getting off property more and give our dogs different looks. And that was an area that we were suffering in. I'd gotten comfortable. I'd gotten relaxed.
Yeah.
Loading
it's
up my dog.
It makes sense,
easy.
and it's efficient. And
you bet.
Let me tell you what an amateur group does that I thought was really amazing. They'll not only do that, they will drive 2 hours, get a hotel. They can easily stay home, get a hotel, stay at a hotel, air at a hotel, and train. So the whole atmosphere of leaving, and not only is the day of training more like what you would see, the whole routine of staying in a strange place, airing in a strange place,
you bet.
Wow, I thought that was like,
so
wow, they're really going all out to try to simulate the atmosphere of what you would do when you travel to a competition.
And I have an exact story to that. There's everybody knows who Indy is. Luke runs Indy. He's been running them for a long time. I trained Indy for the first couple of years, and when he was about 2, he developed a very issue at the line. He was creeping and breaking on me, and so I was trying. He wouldn't do it in training, and I was trying to come up with methods. So one day I told my trainers to go over to so-and-so's property. I want y'all to be set up and ready to go when I get there. And so I took off in the trailer, and I drove 45 miles one way, and I turned around and drove 45 miles back. And when I showed up, we got out like it was a hunt test, and I got Indy off with a slip lead, and I thought, man, he's not gonna know that. He's gonna think this is a hunt test. He knew, and he didn't give me any trouble. I was so frustrated. I thought I'd finally thought of the magic potion, you know. But Luke took over after that, and Luke had amazing success with Indy, and Indy turned into one of the most consistent dogs that we've ever seen in the SRS. So.
It doesn't necessarily mean you were doing anything wrong or right. Maybe just the change in atmosphere, the change in handler. It was a fresh start. I think sometimes that's
change
the case.
in handler for sure. Luke did a great job, and it was kind of a project for Luke, and Luke cut his teeth on Indy and proved that Luke and Luke kept Indy from then on and trained him, and he ran him in the events, and I led him, and he proved that he could achieve great things with that dog, and I said, you did it, here you go, he's yours.
Well, and not just, you talk about creeping, but other issues, problems, sometimes sticking on a bird, sometimes the person that was involved with the initiation of the behavior re-triggers the behavior.
Yep.
Sometimes you just, by putting somebody else next to the dog, it's like you're starting with a clean slate.
Right. And that's the advantage, I think, one of the advantages we have at Best Retrievers is we have 4 field trainers. So we do that commonly. If we have a dog that it's not fitting my style, not wanting to work for me, or I'm not having success with it, hey, let's here, why don't you try this dog, and I'll take this dog from you, and let's see if it works better. So.
And I try to do that sometimes even with my amateur groups, and you're going to run her dog, and he's going to run your dog.
Sure.
Some people aren't very willing to do it, but the more adaptable they are to change, and even if it's just a change of handler, the more that I think they deal with something that is out of their, out of the ordinary.
Yep.
Even if it isn't exactly the same task, just the adaptability of a dog makes them better prepared for things
100% agree.
that you don't normally do.
Yeah, and where I fail is I've been good about that with client dogs. But my personal dog, I always forget to let a client or somebody run my personal dog. And this spring I had a guy that needed to pass a master test to get his judging title or license renewed. And I said, here, take my personal dog Reese and go run in a master test. Reese wouldn't go on a blind.
Yeah.
He wouldn't go on back for him.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that would happen? I mean, the dog won an SRS, he's a master hunter, ran a master national, and won't go on back.
A little different voice inflection.
That's all it took.
So they're doing a rebirth. We can't have very many dogs left.
No, I think there's 2, maybe 3 at the most. We've got John Lamar, looks like he's in the holding blind waiting to come up, and then I know we have Lee Howard. He was in first place in the open division.
Yeah, that was that incredibly low score.
Early on too, like in the first 2 or 3 dogs. When you think it's a bad draw, he...
Well, that's right.
There's a lot to be said about when you run, when you draw. It seems like there's certain dogs of mine that always seem to draw bad. And it's like, man, why can't we get a break and we'll draw early or whatever? But you can't control that.
No, you can't. Yeah, you got to deal with the things you have control over, not the ones you don't.
I've always, there's some talk we've had on the SRS board and about our regular weekend events, and sometimes we get weather issues that keep us from running 4 series in a weekend qualifier event, and there's been some discussion about we'll go ahead and delay this conversation for later, but here comes John. I believe he's our leading amateur at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he is.
With Smokey, huh?
Ernie is currently in first place with his dog Waylon. He posted a 17 yesterday in the second series and a 37 in the first for a combined total of 54. Now, John and Smokey are sitting on 24 points. So if they can get out of this with 30 points or less, they're going to hold their lead.
We're getting some rain now. It's actually getting to be a little heavier.
Yeah, conditions are starting to change. Smokey has no problem with the. Oh,
Boy, the lighting is a little bit challenging. It's just a little, almost foggy looking. You look
like
at the radar, you just don't see that rain.
it might pass. Looked like Smokey was right on that bird. He's hunting on the downwind side. He just hadn't. Yeah, you can see the rain there starting to come down.
You can't.
It's not heavy, but it's definitely in decreasing visibility and probably sending conditions. There you go.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever found, and I don't think of this as a big barometric change, but oftentimes you got all of a sudden some thunderstorms are coming in and you got a frontal change. Have you noticed your dogs running poorly or different in some of those changes? Because all animals feel the barometric pressure changes, and it affects behavior in a lot of different things. Have you ever noticed that in dogs? Because I have seen some of those days where the thunderstorms are rolling in, you'll get very peculiar behavior.
I think this is not going to completely answer your question, but being from Texas, where we're typically warm most of the time, if I travel to an event and it's significantly cooler when I get there, those dogs they think they're on vacation.
Oh, they're
they
wild. Yeah,
are
I know what you mean.
wild. And it's very hard to keep them under control when they're that excited. Not in a bad spot. Got to smell it. Got to smell it.
Boy, I don't know though. I don't know if he is in a. Oh, well.
Wow.
I guess you were right.
You know, it's just
Look at, he's even going to mark the tree to put a
put a stamp on this
put a
one.
stamp on that.
That's
He said,
right.
Well, that wouldn't have happened with a different wind, but you know what? And that dog, he must have been thinking and looking, waiting, because he reacted so much to the wind that I think he has an instinct there was something over there. And
I think
some dogs will just ignore that and just keep going.
if you
Especially
didn't
with that white
have,
jacket behind.
I think if you didn't have that holding blind out there on that mark, and you just had the white coat, you'd see a completely different
Yeah.
response. I think these dogs are running towards that
Yeah.
holding blind
Yeah.
and winding the bird.
Well, at least, but they didn't win that bird in that position yesterday.
And not all of them have winded it today.
Oof. I tell you what.
Sometimes exhaling or inhaling at the most opportune time makes a big difference.
I don't think the camera even shows as much as I'm seeing the foggy feeling of the background. So when I'm looking out in the field, I think it's foggier than it looks on that camera.
Definitely.
All right, well, this has been the path that so many dogs have been on today.
It's just a gateway.
You know, more dogs were breaking down short yesterday, but just a different deal. Now this dog,
When I'm training,
we're going to find out. Boom, he just flicked his head.
when I'm
When he's
training and
to
we're
the right,
doing marks
smelled
like
again.
this, what I'm looking for, and my trainers are always asking me, when do you handle and when do you help? And I tell them, you've got to teach this dog how to hunt and how to work
Right.
it out
Yes.
and how to have an
Yes.
educated
Yes.
hunt. And
Boy, he
that's
is
what we're
trying
seeing
to.
here. This dog obviously knows how to have an educated hunt.
He's still got some work to do. He's coming in though on the left. Oh, did he take off again? I saw him on the left side of the bush. No,
Going
he
long
went
again.
Deep again. I think once they go deep again, it's really hard for him to come back.
Yeah, we've seen dogs either try to go long or try to come in, and that's got to be a difference in training style.
So do you think Carter's ability to recover there has made people more brave to let these dogs hunt? Or would he do this automatically? Is he gonna? I'll tell you what though, he's back over there, but it
That's a good
looks
question.
like he's closer than he is.
I think we've seen the judges
if he comes on this side
reward.
of this bush, he's going to get this sucker.
I think
right
we've seen
there.
the judges reward a dog
Woo.
that works it out, and that's what John played on.
Boy, oh boy, I tell you what, I did not think that dog was going to come back.
Me neither.
Especially when he came in and then went back.
Do you think it's 30 or less, or does Ernie move into the top spot?
Oh.
It's going to be close because he didn't handle.
I think it'll be a little more than 30. I'm just listening. I'm the least qualified to make that decision of anybody here. So
Very little hunt for the right
yeah,
bird,
yeah.
but he had a big hunt on the left bird in the area, but hunted for a long time. I think you're going to see probably around 35 to 40, I would
Okay.
guess. But I'm also
so,
the
do you remember
I'm
what
the
Carol
worst.
did? Put that quick.
Yes.
What did she get for a score?
32 maybe. All right, we see Lee Howard
All
coming
right.
to the line, and Lee's going to get up the line quick. You only have 10 seconds before the first bird is thrown, and Lee obviously is trying to take advantage of that
It's just
time.
not- yeah, because he wanted more time on the mat itself.
Crouching tiger
Looks
right
like he's
there.
in a, yeah. And maybe this dog always just stands up. Because I saw a dog yesterday, maybe this was the one, that I thought, I wonder why he's not making him sit watching the marks. Doesn't move.
Yeah, nice and steady. 46. 46.
Yeah.
So that's going to move them down a little bit. I had said 35 to 40, so it wasn't far off, but
So what does that do with, you were saying that Ernie's
going to now be in first for
Gotcha.
sure. That moves them 24 and 46 is going to be 60, 70, right? 450, yeah. And 70, I could look at the M's. It'll move them into about fourth place.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's going to move into fifth place. Was
In
what
the
it looks
amateur
like.
division or overall?
In the amateur division. I could be wrong, but
Okay.
from what I can tell on the scores, but everything's getting wet and it's hard to see. And
Yeah, it is. Well, it's probably I'll tell you what, this dog's in a little bit of trouble here. This is one of those dogs that came in, broke down short, now is starting to work its way back. I'll tell you what, this rain and wind has got to, well, you can really appreciate the fogginess of the atmosphere right there, looking at the camera.
so I've got some results here. It looks like overall, Ernie is going to be in first with Waylon with an overall score of 54. And John Lamar will move into third.
Okay.
Actually, I think fourth, because there's a tie for third with Carol Cato. They both have 70. Carol had a 36 in the second, and John had a 46. So John will be in fourth. Carol will be in third at 70 points. But man, 54 points for our leader with Ernie after 2 series. That's a strong performance.
Yeah, you bet it is. Well, that's what I wanted to know. Remember, Carol was the first person. She did that quick handle. The dog hit right about where the gun stood, and she put him on the bird. And that turned out to be about a 10-point. But now, I'm only considering that bird, but it's not considering these birds on the right and left. Oh, he's handling on the. I thought he was going to end up getting this bird without a handle, but he's not.
If my spreadsheet is correct, Mike Gibson is going to come in 12th place with Blaze with an overall score of 147. So we have a spread from 54 in first to 147 in, no, that's 12th. Sorry, that's 12th. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So Brian Broussard with Daisy will be in 18th place with an overall score of 160. So we have a spread from 160 to 54. That's our spread from first to 18th.
And we're talking the amateur.
Correct. I mean, that's anybody's game, really. That's 106 points. That's not much.
Well, and you've got 3 series to go.
You bet. Anybody's game still. I mean, some of these amateur scores are just incredible. Carroll with a 34 in the first and a 36 in the second. And that's phenomenal.
I tell you what, and
I'd take
incredible
that.
decision making on her part.
I mean, heck, you got Lane Blanchett with a 12 in the second series and Ray Cato with an 11. These AMs are impressive. That's a good run. Handle on the right bird, that's going to get him.
Yep.
He'll make it.
Boy, I thought it was, came in, hunted quite short, and then worked its way back out. I said, this dog's going to get this bird without handling on the right, but
Well, we'll have our top 18 open dogs and top 18 AM dogs move on to the third series, where we'll be headed now to the Caspian plantation. It's going to take some time for us to move equipment and get things set up, but we should be back on this afternoon. Hopefully conditions will improve. I mean, I don't know what the weather forecast is, but this
Well, I
is
don't
not
know
favorable
either.
at all.
it looked to me like we weren't even going to have this rain in. But there's a pretty heavy line south of us. All right,
We
here
should
we
have
go.
some
We got a scores coming up.
Scores coming up here shortly.
Well, this is the time of anticipation. This is like, here are the callbacks.
After this 18, we'll go to the third, and then we'll cut to the top 12. So we take a big cut here out of the field for the first cut, and then we'll take out 6 for the next cut and 6 for the last cut. I thought the weather, we got pretty rough weather last night, a lot of rain, a lot of wind. I thought it had passed, but obviously not.
Well,
Things could be very interesting this afternoon. Our judges, Dana Giovanelli, Jamie Moss, and Michael Dimmerer have done a great job putting together
they have,
2
I'll tell you.
series so far. We've got 3 left.
I don't know if I commented on it on camera, but I commented to them and some other people. I've been under the judges' tent at a lot of nationals. Sometimes you can feel good chemistry, sometimes not so much.
Sure.
These guys, you could tell
You
they're
have
getting
to.
along.
Yeah.
They got a nice way about them. They were very, I think it's, it makes for a really high quality event. Yeah, I'll tell you what, they're right. How about these guys, the camera guys out in the field? Putting in long days, incredible effort, and dealing with the elements, being out there in the field.
I mean, it's like
With-
sitting in a deer blind for 15 or 16
is.
hours,
Well,
but
look at
not
that
getting
right
to
there. He's
actually hunt.
rolling up his ghillie blanket there, and well, you could look at the rain on the camera lens here.
Rain or shine, these guys definitely have done their job, and it's been some great footage. I mean, you ever watch an event where you can see what
No,
you can see
this is-
from
I've
home
just-
and watch this event?
Oh, there's the entertainment factor, but I'm blown away by the educational opportunities here. That view from behind the dog and watching what's going on and the adjustments different handlers are attempting and what works and what doesn't is unbelievably valuable.
Yeah, if you're tuning in at home watching this, you get to see. I mean, you're watching a free seminar on dog training and testing, and
I do filming, but I mean, I always say that, all right, I film a couple dogs, but you never get it right when you have the most intriguing scenario
Sure.
happen and you did film it. Well, these guys are filming every dog, and
yeah, you'll see 20 different reactions.
I
Well,
think
hopefully
if
the
you-
weather will improve for everybody's sake. And I tell you what, though, being from Texas, I cannot complain about this cooler temperatures. This has been
Right. Well, the wings let up a little bit here. I know the temperatures are going to be a little cooler, and that's going to be helpful. The wind's supposed to go to the north this afternoon.
Yeah, we've got a front coming in, and I think 2 fronts actually over the next couple of days.
Always the challenging thing, these moves, midday.
And the
So what would you
Marshalls
expect, if you had to guess, what would you expect to see on the next
for
series?
the next series?
Yeah. Is it
Well,
predictable
it could
or
be
not?
anything. It literally could be anything. I mean, we saw a blind in the first, but no blind in the second. I would think we're probably going to be coming up against a pretty good blind.
Is this going to be more HRC style?
Man,
But you don't know that.
you don't know.
Okay.
You just don't know. I mean, you hope that they test the dog's general ability over all things: blinds, marks, line manners, control.
So we're going into the third series. Are we going to see water on this test?
I would hope so. I would hope.
Okay.
You know, we've had 2 land series. You
Right.
bet.
Okay.
Not counting the rain. Mm-hmm. Give a big shout out to our marshals, Kevin Redmond, Kevin Buckman, and Matt Emerson, who have got a big task ahead of them. They've got to make a big change here and move from this property and all the equipment and move it 40 minutes over to the Caspian plantation and set up our next series.
We're going to lose our stage.
We will. We'll be hopefully sitting under a canopy if it's going to be sprinkling like this.
Oh.
So we just got word that we're going to a different property, not the Caspian plantation as originally scheduled. So that'll be interesting.
So do you think that decision was just made right now?
I don't know. I mean, as a handler, obviously I'm not in the know, so I wouldn't be given that information. But apparently there's probably maybe some situations. So like we said, were we going to go to water? Last year they pumped water into an area, a flooded field. And apparently this year the water conditions, I guess in this area, obviously lacking just like they are in Texas, and they weren't able to have suitable water at the plantation. So we were going to move to a spot. Obviously we're going to be running water next series, sounds like.
Yeah.
(7691) Dawes Road is where we're headed. In Mooringsport, Louisiana. 7691 Dawes, D-A-W-E-S. The address will be posted for everyone to see. But if you want to come out and watch, we got scores coming up. So first place, Carter, Turner, and Cappy with an overall score of 47. You see 9 dogs listed there, so that's our first 9 in the open division. 47 up to 89. Carter Turner with 3 of them. Lee Howard moved from first down to 8th, sorry. Lyle's coming in at 9th. We've got quite a mixture of professionals here. I mean, Carter obviously has got 4 of the top 9 there. That's impressive, but the year he's had, nobody should be surprised.
Yeah.
Here's our second 9. Looks like 113 was the cutoff. And we got Carter Turner with another one. Bobby Will slides in at 18th. Lyle with his second. A couple for Clark, Leo, and Gus. So man, these Chuck and Winston, I mean, these dogs are, if you follow the SRS, these names are not stranger to you at all. Looks like 113, so we had a little less of a range from first to 18th. So it could be anybody's game in the open division for sure. We'll see what we have in the next series and what dogs it suits. Looks like Justin has 2 in the top 18. Now for our AM division, we have, of course, Ernie and Waylon coming in first with a 54. Quite a lead there on second place in Casey, Parker, and Bailey. A couple of great scores in the second series they had. Got a little mixture of all the amateurs there. John Lamar and Smokey slipping in at 4th. Man, Stuart Williams, no stranger, Brian Broussard, Jason Flaster. These guys are all polished amateurs that can do this. Not a 54 to 111, then up to 160 for 18th. Okay. So Brian and Broussard and Daisy slip in at 18th place. Ron and Rip, what do you think about that? 10th place. I mean, Rip's had an impressive year. Do you think he's still going to make a comeback?
Well, 113. So he's the 10th dog?
He is in 10th currently.
Well,
he
don't
needs
you
to
think
make
these
the
dogs
top.
are all, in striking distance of each other?
Yeah, you get up in the 150s and 160s, it's going to be tough. But I think we're trying to look for top 12. So 10, 11, 12. Mike Gibson in 147 is our 12th place cutoff currently. So those guys sitting after Mike Gibson are looking to make some ground. And from 147 to 160, you only have 13 points. So you have 6 people trying to move up, and not much point difference there. So
So are you, when you're in 14th through 18th place, are you just hoping they have a killer test?
You are, but I mean, they're not that far out, so they could do it.
Cool. All right. All right, well, that's it for the conclusion of the second series here at the 2023 Crown Championship presented by Eukanuba. We're moving on.
Pat, it's been a pleasure. I'll be stepping to the line in the next series.
Rody, good luck to you, buddy.
Spending the morning with you, buddy.
Best of luck. We'll see you guys, well, hour or so? 2 hours? But we'll be there. Or
About 3 to 4 hours.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll tune back in. It's going to get...
The Super Retriever Series Crown Championship is presented by Eukanuba. Sporting dogs give us everything we ask and then some. Their nutrition should do the same. And by the Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission, teaming up with our community to bring sporting events to Shreveport-Bossier City, Caddo, and Bossier parishes. Margaritaville Resort Casino. Louisiana Tourism, feed your soul. Thor's Boats, drop the hammer.
Splash Super Pools.
And by Lucky Duck Kennels.
Your puppy only gets one start to set the foundation for a lifetime of performance at your side. Fuel growth and activity, support digestive health, and give him a training edge to one day flush, point, track, retrieve. So when the gear comes out, he'll be ready. Make every milestone count with game-changing puppy fuel. Eukanuba Premium Performance Puppy Pro.
The Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission is here to help you with your amateur, collegiate, professional, or Olympic sporting event. Centrally located in the Arklatex area, Shreveport-Bossier is a premier sports destination, ideal for hosting sporting events of any size. With our wide variety of venues, including stadiums, convention centers, rivers, and universities, we are sure to have the perfect location for any event. Our team is ready to make your event a success. Visit us online at ShreveportBossierSports.com or on Facebook at Shreveport-Bossier Sports Commission and let us host your next event.
Two birds of a feather. We flock together every day, and I'll do anything to protect that loyalty. Durable, dependable, and downright dirty. And I'm not just talking about my dog. This 5-star crash test rated kennel is lightweight, secure, and made right here in America. Loyalty goes both ways.
The Splash Super Pool is the original above-ground, soft-sided pool. We've been in business for almost 40 years now. We're still proudly made in the USA, and we've been serving our community in all kinds of ways. They're all testaments as to the strength and the durability of this super pool. And we've been serving the dock diving community for almost 20 years. The pool that they use is the exact same pool that you'll use in your backyard. So just remember, as you're watching these dogs fly through the air, this is the same super pool that you could have in your backyard. Splash Super Pools.
The Super Retriever Series Crown Championship would like to thank all our gifting sponsors for their donations to our competitor teams.
They're partners, ready to do whatever it takes. Athletes that pound for pound can outrun, outwork, and outperform anybody you're watching on Sunday. no contract required. You don't waste that kind of potential. You train it, fuel it, unleash it. You feed nutrition that holds nothing back. The Eukanuba Premium Performance Lineup.
This is no ordinary puppy. And this is no ordinary story. This is the tale of a hero in the making. He is born, raised, and fed to rise to any challenge. Because he is no ordinary dog. He's a Eukanuba dog.
That's it. Come on, boy.
Eukanuba provides animal proteins and high levels of DHA for a strong body and mind. Feed the extraordinary in your puppy and make your dog a Eukanuba dog.
The Splash Super Pool is the original above-ground, soft-sided pool. We've been in business for almost 40 years now. We're still proudly made in the USA, and we've been serving our community in all kinds of ways. They're all testaments as to the strength and the durability of this super pool. And we've been serving the dock diving community for almost 20 years. The pool that they use is the exact same pool that you'll use in your backyard. So just remember, as you're watching these dogs fly through the air, this is the same super pool that you could have in your backyard. Splash Super Pools.
In my Louisiana, the day starts at 4 a.m. In my Louisiana, every meal is a celebration. My Louisiana really makes me wonder.
Ours is fast!
With real-life swamp creatures!
In my Louisiana, music is a way of life.
My Louisiana is sheer magic.
From sunup to sundown.
Till sunup again. What will your Louisiana be?
When you find your Louisiana, you feed your soul.